Here is the day the line got crossed for real. I turned off the county road toward my cabin, and a shiny metal gate blocked my private gravel drive. A prefab guard booth hummed on a little generator. 2 cameras blinked like mechanical eyelids, and a crisp HOA flag slapped the wind like it had a deed to my mountain. A kid in a black polo tapped a sign that read, "Toll the $60," and said I could pay the temporary fee or show an HOA pass. I looked at the gate, then at him, and said as calm as I could manage, "This isn't a water park, it's my land." And in that moment, I knew this was not a misunderstanding. This was a takeover attempt in nice shoes. My name is Mason Ward, former Army medic who came up here to breathe without permission. I bought 28 acres of old timberland outside Pisgah, built a small cabin with a wide porch, strung a few solar panels, taught weekend wilderness courses to people who drink strong coffee and like a hard day's work. And down the slope sits Red Cedar Bluffs, a development where the lawns all agree on the same haircut, and the HOA calls itself a lifestyle council, which sounds charming until it shows up at your driveway with a price tag. The first letter from their president, Beverly Klein, came on heavy paper with an embossed crest you could probably translate with a Latin dictionary. She asked for occasional access across my back road for hikes and emergency drills and regional harmony. I sent a polite no because no is still a complete sentence. The second letter arrived with an access agreement and a sticky note that said, "Let's be neighbors." So my attorney Dana Pierce sent a formal denial with the parcel map highlighted and the county citations bold enough to make a point. And I figured that would be that, but you know how some people hear no, like a personal challenge. Trucks for my students started getting turned around by a friendly guard who said the route was under interim HOA management. A pair of guys in high-vis vests showed up with a drone and a clipboard, claiming to be contracted surveyors, assessing runoff risk. I asked for a warrant or a court order, and when they had neither, I gave them 30 seconds to start walking. My dog, Clover, added a big scary bark because she loves customer service, and I kept it all measured, all in a folder until that afternoon, with the gate and the toll sign, and the kid who put his hand on my shirt, like we were arguing over a parking space after a football game. I did not think old training did a simple wrist breakaway weight shift feat. Surrendering to gravel, he landed more embarrassed than hurt. I took the keycard off his lanyard. Beeped, the gate rolled through, parked. Under the pines with my hands shaking from that wired feeling I thought I left behind. Hit record on a voice memo titled HOA War. Day 1, pulled the dashcam clip. Logged time, and GPS sent everything to Dana before the kettle boiled. And when she called back, she said, "Mason, that is obstruction and false imprisonment, and an assault by their agent. I'm filing a notice first thing." And I said good, because this crowd doesn't seem to believe in fences unless they own your side of them. 2 days later, 3 khaki vests returned to my southern boundary with a strange meter and a drone controller, the oldest read from a script about an environmental assessment on behalf of Red Cedar Bluffs and possible contaminants leaching across boundaries. And I pointed at the ground like I was pointing at a sleeping baby and said, "Court order or inspection warrant. Then you're trespassing. You've got 30 seconds to start walking." They left tripping over roots. I called Dana, she said. "They're building a narrative. We'll build a better one." And she hired a state-certified environmental firm that actually works with the Department of Environmental Quality. 2 scientists came with equipment. I could not fake if you spotted me. A blueprint, they took water samples and soil cores near my little range berm and my composting toilet. And the verdict came back cleaner than some playgrounds. And the twist hit like a quiet bell. The runoff problem was on their side, where someone had shaved a natural buffer to extend a pleasure trail. The scientists filed a violation with the county. Dana stapled their report to our complaint, and the air went heavy and still like right before a storm. Friday morning, the storm arrived as Diesel 2 backhoes, a dump truck, a crew in orange vests, and a bulldozer, idling like a hungry animal on my shoulder. The foreman held up a clipboard with official stamps and said, "Scheduled improvements, road widening and resurfacing. Project RC-114, initiated by Red Cedar Bluffs and funded by a municipal grant." And it looked legal enough to fool a tired judge, but it was wrong. My road is private. My deed is not a suggestion. So I handed him the original documents and a letter from the county clerk that could have been engraved on a shovel. No easement, no right-of-way, and pointed to my trail cams blinking red, and told him if his blade touched my gravel, he'd be on video. Committing felony trespass. He stared at the camera lights, then at me, then at the paper math in his head. Called someone higher up, and 10 minutes later powered the site down like a machine that remembered it had a conscience. Yeah, that happened, and Dana filed an emergency motion for misuse of public funds and forgery of an authorization request before lunch. For a minute, the HOA went quiet in public and louder on paper. A hand-delivered letter stamped "urgent" declared my parcel a temporary neutral zone and accused me of obstructing regional integration. I laughed at the vocabulary, then scanned it to Dana, who said, "This is gold. It shows intent. They are not confused. They are scripting." And she was right, because the crack in their script came from a man named Tom Riley, an accountant on their board who walked with his head down and his headphones up. He asked to meet by the hemlock line near the old deer blind and handed me a folder. With hands that didn't want to be shaking inside were internal emails and an outline on Beverly's personal stationery titled "Integration Plan, Final Phase." Step by step, like a recipe card, establish a security checkpoint. File environmental concerns, apply for a grant lobby to reclassify my road as shared access. Name and isolate the owner as a problem. Calculate resale value after absorption, and Tom said the quiet part. She forged the votes. There was never a meeting, and I told him the true part. "You're going to be a witness." And he nodded like a man who just put down a heavy bag. The day after, Dana amended our suit to include fraud and conspiracy to commit land theft. My phone rang while I was running a 2-man land nav drill with a pair of deputies who book my course on their days off. Sergeant Luis Alvarez said they'd received urgent claims of weapons, stockpiling, and extremist training on my land, and were en route for a welfare check. I asked how many cars. He said, 3. I said, make it 4, because one of his guys was already here and could vouch for my certifications. You could hear sirens braiding the valley. The patrol cars rolled in like a movie that forgot it was a comedy. And there behind the lead car stood Beverly in a pastel suit and a necklace that screamed boardroom, holding a manila folder. Like a permission slip signed by God, she announced. I was running unsanctioned combat drills. I asked from who. She said anonymous tips and HOA surveillance. I asked if that meant the cameras she'd mounted on my pine trees without permission. Her smile flickered, and I handed Sergeant Alvarez a packet with my range registration business license, environmental clearance, all the letters and maps, plus a flash drive with the gate incident and the attempted construction. He watched at his hood with the kind of face that was built for fairness, and when he closed the laptop, he said, "Ms. Klein, Your claims do not match the evidence. The only physical aggression is from a guard employed by your association, and your report includes inconsistencies. We will need to follow up on it, she tried to rally with. He's dangerous. He has traps. He has dogs, and Deputy Morales said, dry as a bone. Ma'am, you're describing rural living. You know what I mean. From there, the fight moved where it should have been all along. Filings, hearings, orders, the quiet corridors where consequences live. A judge signed an order to remove the illegal gate and booth. A county crew took the bar apart in under an hour, and the booth sat empty for a day, like a lie that ran out of breath, then disappeared before sunrise. The grant paperwork that greenlit the attempted roadwork did not survive the light signatures that did not match themselves. Once a grown-up looked for more than a second. Tom testified, voice shaking until it wasn't an email thread. Surfaced where Beverly rehearsed language for naming and isolating me for the greater good, and Red Cedar Bluffs announced in a Pure Facts memo that Beverly Klein was no longer president effective immediately, no adjectives necessary. I did not spike a football. I put up a fresh sign at the mouth of my drive. Private road, not for HOA use. Bolted to a post stout enough to make the wind ask politely. Neighbors who used to keep their chin up started waving at the mailbox. A few stopped to say, "We didn't know." And maybe we should have. I don't collect apologies. I collect quiet mornings where Clover snores on the porch while the fog lifts off the ridge and the gravel under a legitimate tire makes that sound that tells you home is still home. Here's what stuck with me, and maybe it will stick with you too. Systems are tools until they forget. Then they're weapons. And the difference is not a slogan, it's proof. Paper patience, and being willing to hold your ground without turning into the thing you are pushing back against. I am not a hero in this story. I am a man who refused to pay a toll to reach his own door, and yeah, I dropped a guard who grabbed me. Judge me for it, if you want, but ask yourself what you would have done with a hand on your chest and a gate between you and your life. I'll end it here with a question that keeps the porch lights on for real conversation. Was I right to push back the way I did, or did I cross a line the second I used my training? Do HOAs keep neighborhoods safe, or do they sometimes turn control into a kind of prejudice dressed as community? Have you seen a board protect people or punish them because power was too easy to reach? Tell me in the comments what justice looks like, where you live, what you'd have done at that gate. And if you've got a story like this, put it out there. So the next guy standing in front of a toll sign on his own road knows he's not crazy.